now joined by Victor Scott, who's a top prospect in the Cardinal system. I've interviewed Victor, so we've talked a little bit before earlier this season, but he continued to have an amazing finish to the year, tore it up in the Arizona Fall League, and now is catching the eyes of people all around baseball right now. So Victor, thanks so much for joining us, man. How's your offseason going so far?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can y'all hear me good?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, awesome. Man, my offseason's going outstanding nonetheless. I went on a trip to Cancun just to kind of relax and get my mind off of baseball as everyone kind of does. But I'm kind of back into the swing of things now. So back in the cages, back in the gym, kind of starting to reacclimate myself and get everything back going for sure.
Yeah. What are some of the things that, like, you're getting back into baseball activities? What are some of the things you're working on going into spring training this upcoming year and preparing for the 2024 season?
So one of the primary components like that I wanted to come into this offseason was being able to create more bat speed, more power throughout my swing without changing my swing or like changing the dynamics of my swing. So by that, I'm using the ground a little bit more to kind of promote that force throughout my body and up the kinetic chain in order to kind of promote that bat speed.
Yeah, so I know we talked about this a little bit when we talked last time, but when people hear about contact speed threats developing power, there's sometimes a little bit of like what's going on here? Because they're afraid that you're going to mess up your swing, you're going to start hitting for too many home runs and lose a lot of the ability that makes you special. So what does it mean to add more bat speed and to make harder contact and add more power to your game while not changing your swing? Like what does that kind of look like for the average fan to understand that?
It's kind of just training your body to move a little bit quicker. So either that may be swinging a lighter bat and hitting tennis balls or working on like strength at impact, but it doesn't mean to change the approach. So when you start to tinker with the approach, then you start to kind of get into launch angle and trying to hit homers when that's not necessarily my game. So trying to hit those line drives, just trying to hit them a little bit harder with more bat speed and a little bit more control kind of just adds a different element, a more exciting piece to the game for sure.
Awesome.
All right. So Victor, I know that you went to West Virginia. I'm at Baylor myself right now. So a little bit of a rivalry there. You guys just beat us in football a couple weeks ago. That was such a tough loss for the Bears. But we know that you just graduated recently, if I'm correct. What'd you get your degree in, and how'd you go about finishing school while you're also like playing minor league baseball? That's a lot to juggle.
Right. I got my degree in multidisciplinary studies. So basically, that's just a fancy way of saying 3 minors into 1 major. My minors were health education, group fitness, and personal training. As for like the question of juggling things, it was more so just kind of like sticking to a regimen or routine, kind of trying to chunk classes per se. So if I had like 3 classes this semester, I would try to do assignments from 1 class, maybe on Monday and Tuesday, and then the next class is so on and so forth. It'd be like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it kind of allowed me to stay on a pretty consistent routine and just remain disciplined to know like that I want to finish school and this is the time to do it.
Well, congratulations. Like, that's so impressive. That's just a lot going on. That's amazing. And this summer, while you were tearing it up in the Cardinals system, you finished the year at AAA. What was it like to get up to Memphis and get up to the higher levels of the minors? Did you notice like a big increase in like the competition level and stuff? Can you tell us a little bit about what that adjustment was like as well?
Yeah, so I actually went from high A to AA, and I finished in AA this year.
Oh, okay, my bad.
That's no problem. But it was a big competition jump for sure. Everybody kind of knows necessarily. Like, I mean, everybody in pro ball is good. They're great players. As you kind of go up, everybody kind of starts to know who they are identity wise. So in that, pitchers a little bit more competitive around the zone. They tend to pitch more to like their strengths and know how to get guys out based off of what they do well. So with that being said, like with me as a contact guy, normally those pitches a little bit more around the zone than what they were at high. So it allows me to kind of play my game, be bat the ball, and kind of just get on base and try to cause as much havoc as possible. Try to get better pitches for the guys behind me to hit. So it all kind of ties in as you increase. And I know there's going to be another jump going to AAA and of course the big leagues. but it's just continually making those adjustments to put myself in the best position.
Yeah. So we talked a lot about that last time you're on too, about how your approach isn't just helpful for you getting on base and your stats and your production, but you're helping the guys behind you in the order as well. So could you talk a little bit more about when you get on base, what is it that you're trying to do to like throw the pitcher off so that let's say you're in St. Louis next year and you've got Lars Nootbaar, Paul Goldschmidt, those type of guys behind you. What are the type of things you're trying to do on the base paths to make their lives easier as a hitter?
Well, what I've heard from a good amount of pitchers is just when I get on base, it's another thing they have to think about. So with that being said, it kind of takes like the direct focus away from the hitter, and they're now more liable to make a mistake. So if they make a mistake with Lars or Paul Goldschmidt or Nolan Arenado, it's probably going to end up being an extra base hit or a homer. So just kind of having like that element into it, and then kind of to tie it all in, if I'm on first base and I end up on second by stealing a base, now I'm in scoring position. So kind of account for more runs batted in, more RBIs, more runs scored, more production ultimately for the team.
Yeah. So we've got a couple, we've got obviously our chat going on in the stream right now too. So we'll pepper in some of these questions as well. Sarah wanted to know, who is your favorite baseball player? So maybe someone you look up to who's playing today, or as you were growing up, who was someone you emulated your game off of? And then do you have a favorite NFL team?
So I answer the first one. Well, the second question first, but my favorite NFL team is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're not doing too hot right now.
Yeah.
But hey, y'all root for somebody, you know what I'm saying? So, for the first question, I watched Andrew McCutchen a lot growing up. So my dad was from Pittsburgh, so I ended up watching the Pittsburgh Pirates a lot. He was their center fielder, and I wanted to be just like him growing up. So I watched a lot of his games, kind of just admired the way he played the game too. So that's kind of who I idolized growing up.
Yeah. And another question here from, I'm going to go in from Jeff real quick, and then Andrew, you're up too, is how have your ball tracking skills improved since college? Because that's one of the things that when people watch you nowadays that we marvel at is just your ability to track down balls from center field and your elite defensive ability. So what have you done from transitioning to college to the big league level to help with that?
Just learning. So in college, I was at first a physical education and kinesiology major. So with that being said, I learned like the study of human movement, body language, and how I tied that into baseball was reading the swing. So being able to understand swing mechanics, where would the ball go if it was made contact, if it was like a middle away pitch or a middle in, like what would that have to look like flight wise, body positioning. So kind of understanding that and understanding the why and the purpose behind reading swings kind of really allowed me to prepare myself in anticipating where the ball would go, getting that first step. So that's kind of how it developed as I got to pro ball, just really understanding the swing, how the game works, where should the ball go, and to be really like essentially running in the direction before the ball is hit.
Yeah, that's really cool. I wanted to touch back on the last question because Andrew McCutchen just re-signed with the Pirates today. So I'd love to see you guys share the same field together. That'd be really cool. That's always a cool moment. The same division and all. So that would be really awesome. Just wanted to say that.
Yeah.
So Victor, I just wanted to ask, I know a lot of players. Awesome. Sorry about that. Some
you good.
Weird stuff with my audio going on. But I know a lot of players take pride in different aspects of their game. What for you is like your favorite thing about your game as a player?
Probably speed.
That's awesome.
Most definitely speed. That's like it's just fun for me. It's fun to run around, get out there and just move fast, and hopefully people enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, you're electric to watch. I really enjoyed watching you with Springfield this year. So did you play any other sports growing up as well where like that was a big factor?
I did. I played basketball and I played football. Played football for 1 year in the 5th grade. It kind of wasn't my thing, but I really loved basketball. So I didn't really like get into super tune with baseball until like my sophomore year of high school. but I could have told everybody that I was going to be in the NBA because I loved it so much. So that was my thing. Basketball was definitely my thing.
So what led to you like choosing baseball then, I guess, at some point in high school?
Yeah, my dad sat me down one day, and mind you, my parents aren't super tall individuals, but they sat me down one day and they told me, like, what do you think you're going to be most successful in? Like, I'm not going to be 6'6", I'm not going to be 6'7", 8. So baseball was my route, and I'm not necessarily like a Spud Webb or or Nick Robinson. So I'm like, yeah, baseball is my route for sure.
That is so
Yeah.
cool.
So something that I thought was interesting that maybe we could circle back on is last time we talked, I kind of assumed or was wrong on this. I believe I'm getting the order of this right. That I was thinking third base was a harder base to steal, and I think you said it was actually easier out of the two from third and second base. And could you explain a little bit more about your philosophy when you're on first base versus when you're on second base and you're trying to swipe that next bag?
Right. So first base to steal second is it's pretty much a race between me and the pitcher's time to the plate. If the catcher makes a good throw, hats off, great throw. But it's between me and the pitcher. It's almost like a dance. So depending on like what the pitcher's tendency is, depending on what his time to the plate is, normally a 1-3 and under, I'll kind of look for tendencies to help me out to get the best jump possible, essentially. Then when I get to second, hopefully when I do, then I'm looking for head turns. If he's locking in with the catcher before he picks up his foot, is he looking at me as he's turning? So kind of things like that I'll know prior to the game, like what kind of guy he is, and then it'll allow me to essentially just get the best jump as possible. That's all base stealing is about, is just having the first step on the pitcher, and then kind of just staying low throughout the whole process to get to either second or third base.
Yeah, so that following that up, here in St. Louis, we have who I think is the greatest defensive catcher of all time in Yadier Molina. He just joined the staff. So my question for you is, do you think you could steal a base off of Yadi in his prime? And if you did, how would you go about doing that?
Yes, I think I could, but I would need a really good jump because his throws are on the money. So the better the better the jump, the better possibility it would be for me to essentially swipe it. But if I didn't get that jump, man, I think I'm walking back to the dugout. So
I'll never forget that Colton Wong stolen base off him when he got to the Brewers, and Colton took the second base bag and took it home with him afterwards because it's just like he stole off his old teammate there. I'm sure it'd be a little bit easier now with the new rules as well. It'd probably be a little harder in 2013, 2012 to see off Yachty, but the rules definitely help with base running a little bit more as well.
Does anybody remember when I think it was Jose Siri in spring training kind of like wagged his finger at Yachty when he tried to pick him off at first, and then Yachty threw him off by like 8 feet or something? But
incredible.
Seriously, Victor, love the confidence. We honestly cannot wait to see you tearing up the base paths at Busch. I mean, we know it's probably coming really soon. But like to get there, there's still a lot to be done. What are you working on right now this offseason besides adding power to your game like you talked about earlier? And then how do you think that'll translate in spring training?
Another component that I'm working on is essentially consistency. No one kind of wants like a fluke year where it's like the excitement builds up and then the same results, or if not better, are not happening. So I'm really working on just consistency, being able to kind of continue to define who I am as a player, stick to that, just on all facets of the game, especially hitting, but also with defensive work, just being routine, just head in the glove, being able to read swings, still practicing those things, but just continue to go about it as a professional.
Yeah. It's crazy to think like the jump you've taken in the last 365 days, especially even within the organization. And now you're consistently viewed as a top prospect in the Cardinal system. A lot of people are speculating you'll be a top 100 prospect when most of these prospect lists come out as well. John Mosaic was just talking to Tom Ackerman on Sunday and specifically mentioned they're really excited about you, and Flo reminded him, Randy Flores, not to block you, that you've got a lot of upside and you're a guy they see a lot in. So How has this last year been, going from you weren't a first round pick, so you weren't necessarily coming in with a ton of pedigree, and now you're a guy that fans, the organization, people around baseball have their eye on?
Yeah, I mean it's been honestly truly a blessing. The main thing is just I feel like none of this would have been possible without A, God, B, being healthy. So I can definitely attribute to like being healthy to the athletic trainers in the Cardinals organization. They're unbelievable. The body preparation that they give you, the workouts, um, the even like the recovery components of everything, they just lay it all out, and it's just at that point it's up for you to, or it's for you to do. So like with that being said, those two things just help me stay on the field and allow me to kind of prepare myself in the player who I'm becoming, who I am now.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so we know about your ability on the field, and we're really excited about that. But something that you also do is you make music off the field. And so you just dropped an album, Heart Controlled by Strings. So can you tell us a little bit more about where people can access that album? And then do you have any goals as an artist?
Actually coming into it, I didn't have any goals. I just did it as like therapy. It was therapeutic. It was for like meditation purposes, just allow me to kind of pass time sometimes. But to answer your question about where you can find it, it's on Apple Music, Spotify, all platforms, Pandora. If you just type in Heart Control by Strings, Argo, you'll be able to find it. But yeah, so it just kind of was like a way for me to vent and outlet. So I wasn't necessarily bottling up just like just thinking, or just allow me to kind of express the way I feel through some tunes pretty much.
Yeah, that's
really
incredible.
cool to see. I want to plug Sai's question from the chat. He asked, what was it like getting called up to Springfield mid-season? So could you tell us a little bit about what that experience was like? How did they go about telling somebody, hey, you're going up to the next level, you're going to be playing, tougher competition?
Normally I feel like you have like like almost like a date that's set depending on how you're performing. So like I just know from my personal experience, we were in Quad Cities, and I actually wasn't doing that well this series. But when it's your time, it's your time. So the manager, Patrick Anderson, he pulled me aside, and the hitting coordinator was also there, Russ Steinhorn. And then they gave me the news that I was going up to Springfield. And I kind of felt like that feeling, like almost like in your chest, like a feeling of joy pretty much. And I was like, all right, it's time to take the next step. So it's kind of how my reaction to it was.
Yeah, that's incredible. Something that David asked coming in is, are you working with any major leaguers, or have you worked with anyone specifically on your ability, or like just continuing to develop your ability to steal bases? I know you connected with Vince Coleman back at the Futures game. Is there anyone else that you've talked with about the art of stealing bases?
Yeah, major leaguer wise, Vince Coleman and Willie McGee have been like probably the most highly touted base stealers that I have spoken with about it. As for coaches, Patrick Anderson and we talked a whole bunch about it in high A. Jose Laher in Double A, the manager there, talked a lot about reading tendencies and being able to kind of identify those things. Michael Butler, who I train with here back at home, he's like the performance guy here. But we talk about a lot of like just first step, acceleration, getting into positive shin angles. Sorry if I'm sounding so like sciencey. It's just kind of like
Oh, it's great.
But
Yeah,
but that's kind of like talked about. So just understanding that also helps to put yourself in better positions, to steal bases, to be accessible, to be efficient, those kind of things.
It's so cool to talk to someone with this kind of like expertise. I mean, you're just such a student of the game. I love when you sounding sciencey like that, because that's something that we want as fans. We want to hear the thought process, the exact stuff that goes into being that kind of player. One more question from the chat. We want to respect your time. Just thanks so much for joining us again. But Heart of the Order asked, when you get called up to the bigs, who's your first call?
Definitely my mom or my dad. Hopefully they're together at the time. But yeah, hopefully they're in the same room. But definitely I'll definitely call my mom first.
That's awesome.
Yeah, family first. They mean a lot to me, so it'll definitely be them.
Yeah, it's incredible. And again, we were excited. We know it's on the horizon, whether that's opening day, whether that's a little bit sooner into the year. We'll see what happens with that. But Victor, again, thanks for coming on, man. We're rooting for you. We're excited about all the work you did at the Arizona Fall League this year. We're excited to see you in spring training. Best of luck in this upcoming year, man. And we can't wait to see what happens.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank y'all for having me.
Of course.
Thank you so much for joining us.
So guys, again, you can go ahead and at the very top of here, there's a pinned comment where you can donate on things as well. And we've got more guests coming throughout the night. And so we're going to do another giveaway here soon in about 10 minutes. Thank you very much to Victor again for hopping on. And again, we've got guests coming in and out throughout the live stream. So you're going to see people popping in and popping out, which will be awesome. But if you want to donate to Big League Impact, there's the pinned comment on here somewhere, and you can click on that link and go through there. And then we'll continue to do with that. So anything from Victor you guys want to like process a little bit before we have our next guest come on?
I mean, I just want to say St. Louis has such a rich tradition, like the Cardinals do, of like just base stealing threats. You know, guys who can go out there and steal a bag. And, you know, a couple years ago, it was Harrison Bader and Tommy Edman. But, you know, farther back in kind of like my parents' days, you know, Lou Brock. And then a little after him, obviously, you had guys like Ozzie Smith. And my mom talks all the time about Vince Coleman. And it's just so cool to see Victor Scott, like the next great base stealer who's going to continue this tradition.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what happens with center field because it seems like Tommy Edman's entrenched there as the starter going into opening day. And then we'll kind of see what happens throughout camp. And so we've got Josh popping on right now as well, which is exciting. So Josh from the Triple Play podcast. How's it going,
hey guys? Man? Hey, how's it going?
It's good. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Oh man, this is awesome. It was fun. I really like Victor Scott, man. That guy is going to be a stud. I'm pumped about what he's going to be bringing to the game in just a year or so.
Yeah. Anything you want to ask Victor while he's on here?
Well, I was listening. I'll tell you what, first of all, any guy that admires Andrew McCutcheon has to be okay, right? I mean, he's a stud. I like him, and I thought the Cardinals should have got him a long time ago. So I'll just drop that right there. His leadership, and I can tell you my co-host when he's on here, Scott, also has high likes for the guy. So we both have talked about McCutcheon a ton. And I don't know if there's anybody in the game that doesn't respect him, both in his game and his approach and just his personality. So what a really cool guy to admire. So Victor, I'm excited. I don't really have a question for you other than the fact I can't wait to see you on the field at Busch Stadium. I'm going to try to be there that day that you're there. So,
yeah, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. We're when they told you earlier that we're all pumped, it's no doubt, man. It's been a while since we've had a real base stealing threat, and you're the real deal, man. There's very few of them out there anymore, and the art that you've really mastered is just admirable. So we're excited. So,
for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just a side note, is there any expectations on your side as you look towards Busch Stadium? I mean, are you setting a timeline or any bench posts that you're trying to hit to make it there? You know, whether it be via spring training or starting the year out in AAA.
I didn't necessarily set a timeline on when I wanted to get to the big leagues. I was just hoping that potentially it could be this year, depending on, of course, like my performance and what I could bring to the team, you know, if and when need be.
Well, we know you're going to bring a lot to the game. It's just a matter of when. The rest of us already know that.
Right.
So, you know, you play with the same confidence that you did this last year, you'll be up in no time flat if they even sent you down. So I'm excited to watch spring training.
Victor, is there anything that, like, going into the offseason that the major league coaching staff or maybe even the front office is like, hey, these are things we're hoping to see from you coming into the season that would progress you down the line? Or is that something more as you're just working with the AA coaches and you're working with the minor league development system that's just the usual track? Or is there something that they're like, hey, if we see this in you, that potentially could be the game changer for us?
No, not necessarily. Just with like on the minor league side, just continuing to build bat speed without necessarily having to change my swing.
Yeah.
Victor, I wanted to ask one more thing. Center field is one of the toughest positions to play on the diamond, and it's also one of the most valuable. Every team needs a great center fielder, and the Cardinals have had a lot of trouble finding consistency in center field in recent years. I know last season they started off with Tyler O'Neill, and that didn't work out super well. Dylan Carlson, Lars Nootbaar played a little bit of center. Now Tommy Edmonds found his way out there. So what for you, like, when did you start playing center field? When did you know that you were going to be a center fielder for sure? And then what can you do to, like, know that you're going to be a consistent center fielder, you're going to be able to be a linchpin for years to come?
Right. I'll just tell you kind of like a quick backstory on why I chose center field. But my dad would take me to the park, like a local park, as any like dad would do his kid, and he would hit me fly balls from left center to right center to left field to right field. And if I didn't catch the ball, he would make me do 50 push-ups. Or if I in range even close enough to the ball where I could lay out, mind you, I was 10 years old. It would be push-ups or it would result in sit-ups or burpees or some kind of exercise. But he would kind of like make me do this, and it kind of like built character and made me take pride in center field. So it made me feel like, okay, look, I'm not really like a guy to shy away from the competition. Like, if he's going to challenge me to do it, I'm going to catch the next ball so I don't have to do 50 push-ups on the next time he hits the ball to me. So it's kind of like it was just kind of instilled in me as I was a young kid, and that's kind of how the love for center field came about.
Yeah. Well, again, Victor, thanks for coming on, man. We really appreciate you giving us some of your time here. And we're excited to see, what's to come for the rest of the year. Again, you can see his music over on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your music from. So you can watch him on the field, but you can also listen to his music as well. He's got his latest album, Heart Controlled by Strings. So you can just look that up on there as well to find him on there. You also find him on Twitter. He's all over the place. So thanks again, Victor. We really appreciate having you.
Gotcha. Thank you all for having me again.
Yeah.
Hey,
Thanks,
blessings,
Victor.
buddy.